was about a week after my dad passed away. I was still in shock. I hadn't let myself grieve about it. And I found myself, I was working a deck building job, as some of you may know. And I went up to my boss because that particular day I was feeling really off, and as I should. And I told him I needed to take a break. He didn't deserve, I didn't deserve to be paid if I wasn't gonna work well, so I left and I went to my mom's house and I laid down in her driveway and I just stared up and I looked at the stars. And I stayed there for hours and hours, and I was just comforted by the emptiness of it. I wasn't looking for any answers. I wasn't looking for anything to shout out at me. I was just looking up because I needed the silence. I needed the solace. I needed the solitude. And then I had a thought, something I hadn't thought about since I was a child. I thought about that game. And I realized that I really wanted to play it again. And I wasn't sure why I wanted to play it again. I just had to play it again. So I went over to my stepmom and dad's house, and in their basement, my dad was a creature of habit. He stored everything meticulously that he ever had. Every book that he read, every book that he published, every piece of cookware that was passed down in our family, old grills that didn't work anymore, but in the back, in the very back, among all these bookshelves, was a game shelf with, in meticulous order, every single game that he had bought me over the years. And walking in, I didn't realize it. And it wasn't until I pulled that game from the shelf and I looked back and I saw this catalog of my dad's life that I realized just how much I missed him. And so I broke down and I was crying, I was crying. But then I opened the game, and this is when game boxes used to be big, so it was big instruction manual, pop the CD and install it, back in days when you had to install games off CDs. And then I played it, and I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I was grown up enough to appreciate how big it was out there. And then when I came back from playing the game, I was like 16 hours straight, just stuck in my stepmom's basement, just playing over and over again, crying intermittently, and then just, and then I went back outside. It was dark, and I looked up, and it didn't seem empty anymore. It was everything. I understood how vast it really was, and I understood how big it was and how small I am. And that's not a short joke, it's not a short joke. But that's when I realized that I had to let my dad go, and I gained an appreciation for something that's so much bigger than myself.